So welcome once more to one of our Ya Somos Europeos webinars. Today the purpose is quite simple, to update you a little bit on the latest news from EPSO. In fact, we put September, just because the news were announced in September, although we are in October at this moment, early October. So that's the reason behind of this striking title. Not mistake there. So hope this is clear. As usual, this video will be recorded and uploaded into our channel. So if you miss any part of you want to rewatch again, you will have the opportunity, as well as the presentation will be uploaded in our blog, and you will have access to download it afterwards. So don't worry, nothing's gonna be missed here. So let's start a little bit. So what is gonna be the menu for today? So first of all, the latest news, what we know from apps, so the latest announcement that we got from them, the lessons learned. That will be a second part, in the sense of, I think that we could extract some useful lessons for as candidates and as trainers from the transport competition. So I think that that will be good for the future. Then the next exams and competitions, I will briefly review them, the tests that we may expect, and how to tackle them. And then finally, how can from Yacemos Europeos help you? So a little overview on our trainings and the best way we can attend your needs as candidates and future officers of the European institutions. And then final, last but not least, your questions. Of course, we will be here to answer all your questions. And just answering one question on the chat is indeed, as I say, recording will be available on our YouTube channel. So we will share once it's been uploaded. We will circulate an email with the link, so you will be notified on that part. In any case, as I say, all your questions will be answered at the end. So please, just we ask you to be patient and wait until the end for any question you may have. Also, because probably some of them will be answered during the presentation. Maybe not at the time that you were expecting. Maybe, but for sure you will have an answer to your question. So let's go for the latest news. Yeah, this is a little summary of what are the latest news. We saw that we got dates for exams and for new competitions. Yippee, hoorah, way! Yeah, it's been a while since we have seen so many exams going on and new competitions announced like that. That's wonderful. Yeah, I know. There is one competition missing. I will talk about that one on the next slide. Yeah, so we saw that the first one will be statistics. There are not many candidates there on that, so it's another good trial for EPSO and the new system, although transport went relatively well. We can say nuclear, then will be in November. In December, we'll have HT3 assistant. That will be a big one. So let's pay attention. It's on the brink of, on the limit with the Christmas break. But well, the good point is that you take that exam after that, you can just really enjoy your Christmas time, have fun, forget about everything you have done on that exam until you get the results, successful results, a few months later. Fine, good, right? And then Christmas and migration right after the Christmas break. So for those candidates, I'm sorry, you will have to study again. You will have to prepare, and probably Christmas will be the right time to do the final effort, the final push. This is it. Last but not least, economies. Yeah, it's been a long way since 2023 when we have the exam on that. So finally, we will have our final exam in January. Super. And then on the new competition, scientific research and translators. So we saw that on the 5th of November, there will be the announcement of publication of the new notice of competition for scientific research, and on translators in December. I will disclose a few more details on this a bit later on the new competitions. Okay. Um, mhm. In the meantime, so what else can we say about these latest announcements and latest information available? So first of all, verify info. Seems that the platform is working better than the previous. So far, that's good news. So we can expect some return to normality in 2025. So finger crossed that nothing will come up, no nasty surprises. Everything will run smoothly as it's running nowadays. We will see our all EPSO rhythm in motion. Finger crossed. Then no other competition will be published before 2024, the end of the year. So this has been, we checked that with EPSO, and they confirmed that they have no intention to publish beyond the two competitions I just mentioned. And that means that 85 Generalists won't be published in 2024. That's true. But we expect, although EPSO doesn't have a date, then we are doing our assumptions or educated guess that Generalists will be called early 2025, meaning could be springtime, yeah, February, March 2025. So the exam could be before the summer break during the springtime of 2025. Is what we are assuming nowadays. In any case, after all the effort done and all the publicity, sooner than later, we expect that the generalists will be there. Okay, so careful with some of the micros as we can hear you. It's recorded. So, yep, then it goes. So this is what we are considering nowadays. And also, we remain optimistic that EPSO will announce some new competitions during this year, although they will be published in 2025. But at least we expect that if everything runs smoothly now in the exam in October and in November, we may see before the summer, Christmas break, not summer break, Christmas break, we may see announcement of new competitions. And I think that also it's in the interest of EPSO to do so, to showcase that they are working well, that they are delivering, and things are back to normal. So in their own interest, they will do as soon as possible this. That's about the news, the verified information that we have, and the educated assumptions we can do based on that information and based on our own experience. I know these are not the best news. You were expecting the date for Generalist, you were expecting the official announcement, but still, I think Generalist is coming. So sooner than later, we will have it in our emails, but we will have it on our desk. And that's one thing. And now let's move to the second part on the feedback from the transport competition. Yeah, first of all, thank you to all the more 100 croquetillas or candidates who trusted us to help them in the transport competition to prepare this exam. I think the overall results were quite positive based on the survey we ran. We finger crossed we will get results sooner than later, probably after the Christmas break, with many names, known names on the reserve list. I mean, if possible, all of them to be on the reserve list. So, but besides that, this element, it's interesting to take note of the lessons learned and some of the items that they share with us. This is not only also coming from transport, but also from the CAST exams that already took place. Another one is happening now in October, and some other information we gather from the candidates and the platform that they're using. Remember that also this platform is used in the internal competition of the European Commission. So it's already been tested. Yeah. So this is now how it looks after the reform of the languages. Now with language 1 and language 2 can be any of the 24 official languages of the European Union, meaning that can I select Slovak and Hungarian as language 1 and language 2? Yes, you can. Can I select English and French? Yes, you can too. Can I select Spanish and Italian? Yes, sure. Or English and Spanish? Sure, why not? So up to you. Always following the notice of competition. But now it's quite open, and unless there is a justified reason to limit the number of languages or the selection of languages, you have great degree of freedom. We assume that this will be the case exactly for AD5 generalists, for instance, and for some other competitions like the scientist that is coming, that you will be able to choose between language 1 and language 2, any of the 24 official languages. That was one important thing. Also, it may delay a little bit the process. We've seen, for instance, for the transport competition, that the commission was, or EPSO was asking for evaluators, assessors, to check on the writings on different languages. Yeah, you can more or less count that everybody can read, understand English, French, more or less. German maybe not so common, but quite common. Italian, Spanish. But then when it comes to some mandatory languages by the number of native speakers, for instance, Maltese, Finnish, Swedish, So it's a bit more difficult to find the reviewers, the assessors of the exam. So if there is a lot of exercises in this language, it may delay the whole process. But still, the process is going on, is moving. And that's the important and positive news. That was one thing. Another element that is important to consider on the CBT test, that we have seen that the verbal reasoning is becoming a bit more challenging than in the past. Nowadays, candidates complain that the verbal is trickier, but in a positive sense, at least from what we got, majority languages. That's true. Italian, Spanish, French, English, that it's not so easy to find the right answer. It requires a lot of reasoning behind. So just be careful with that part. I mean, I'm talking only about the difficulty of the exam itself. So verbal reasoning, it's becoming quite of a piece of resistance on this exam. While numerical and abstract are not so difficult, exercise perspective, just talking about the exercise, but the interface of the numerical is tricky as well. Why? Is while the exercise itself is not difficult, the fact that you have to use the calculator on your screen and a scratch pad, an open space where you can take notes for the exercise becomes tricky, especially if you are using a laptop with a small screen. So the setting is not easy at all. So you need a clear strategy to approach the exercise. You need to proceed by order. So you cannot move from one place to another like crazy because you are wasting time and you're not seeing the exercise. So you need to proceed with caution and order. That need to be clear for the numerical. So that's why we mentioned the strategic approach to the numerical that is needed. So again, numerical reasoning exercises are not difficult, but still they require some procedural steps, meaning calm mind, meaning being focused, meaning that if you get nervous, that's dangerous. So this is something we have insisted so far a lot in other previous webinars, in our trainings. So guys, practice, but practice with not with quantity but quality, following the closest setup as possible, the closest as possible to the real exam, and proceeding by order. That will help you to pass. And remember that the beauty of all this is that for the numerical you only need usually 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, depends. For the economics and finance, usually they're asking 6 out of 10 in numerical, while in other exams it's just a simple combination of numerical plus abstract. So you don't need to have a 10 out of 10 in numerical. Sometimes it's good that you sacrifice one exercise in order to get the job done and get as many points as possible. As you don't need 10, well, you can 8 in numerical, 2 in abstract. I think that's feasible. So why not? Hope this part is clear. This lesson is learned, well done. And we're moving now to the second part of the exam was the field-related MCQ test. Transport policy was, of course, for the transport exam. So 40 minutes, 30 questions, not big deal. I mean, in the sense, time-wise, it was fine. I mean, almost everybody finalized in 30 minutes or less. So it is not a very demanding exercise time-wise. Good. We're good on that part. Regarding the content, yeah, there's been some controversy because when the EPSO started with the exams, especially I'm referring to economist, the exam was quite a bit out of scope, quite bizarre because it was purely theoretical. So there was some fear that in the transport competition they could do the same. They come theoretical. How theoretical can be transport? Since how many liters of oil, fuel do you need to fly a plane from Madrid to Beijing? I don't know. What is the meaning of 2 red lights on a track side signal on railways? That will be quite technical. The exam was not at all technical. Okay, it was purely policy. That's why we compiled just 4 examples of questions that the candidates share with us. So, which country has more containers registered? This could be considered as a kind of trivial type of question. There are documents published on the MOVE webpage where you can have access to this information. So it was not secret, it was not strange, it was just simple having access to that. In fact, was a book that we already insist a lot to our candidates to study and to review. So hopefully all of them they got it right. And that's it. Trivial type questions are not the the best from the sense that they are not purely appreciating your understanding of the policies. Absolutely agree, but it's true that they are fair questions from the perspective of selecting candidates among hundreds or thousands, because it's a piece of knowledge, it's related to policy, to transport policy. Yeah, it's a valid question on that part. Even if we don't like it, we have to accept it. Then some questions that could be more trivial but expected type, where is EASA headquarters located, or then purely policy and interesting ones who can negotiate aviation agreements, or the parliament can make transport proposals, and then some conditions that you have to read and select the one that was fulfilled or was right. So in overall, it was a quite fair exam, not too technical, and based on the input we gather, people who have studied the exam, I mean, dedicate a few hours. They have gone through the main items. They see or they saw the chances as good. They consider that they could have a fair chance. Let's see at the end how many candidates took the exam for real, because it was in the middle of the working week, and not everybody could take that exam because of other duties and any other issue that may come. But let's see how the results are. But we expected that maybe the threshold will be 25, 26, no more than 27 probably. And then about that, we have another element that is the written test. Yes, the first time that we got this new model, let's call it like that, where remember how it is. The new written test is you get some input on the field, meaning in this case it was a document on transport. For economists will be on economy, for the nuclear scientists will be on nuclear science, nuclear policy. So it's a document topic related that you get 2 weeks in advance, so plenty of time to read it. It was not too big document. It was 21 pages, if I remember correctly. So it was a single text this time, official one, available in the 24 official languages of the European Union. So that was fine, and official translated. So the quality was good. The main outcome is that if you prepare in advance, it's relatively simple. If you foreseen the questions, if you foreseen what could be the things they may ask, uh, that's more than feasible, because at the end you don't need to be a genius to manage this exercise. No, you need to get used to work under pressure, to work in 45 minutes or 40 minutes, depends on the exam. So time is very limited, so you have to have a clear understanding of the text, so whatever the question is you can answer in no time, and you prepare in advance with some possible questions, just like that. It's what we did with our candidates, for instance, and it worked quite well. I mean, in fact, more or less, the idea that was finally asked was covered previously in some of the elements we try on the scheme we prepare previously. So that's the idea. I mean, it's not rocket science, literally, but simple exercise, topic related, so you're more familiar with it. But you don't need a big piece of knowledge, just a simple practice, getting the time before the exam to prepare and to practice the writing is the key part, is the most difficult part, let's say, because you are bound by family duties or by your jobs. So that's the part that makes things a bit more difficult to prepare. But for the rest, that was perfectly fine. So if you practice, the time management is solved, you master it, and you get it. You don't need much more than that. Remember that this exam is assessing communication only. The written test, also the essay of the European Union, is assessing communication. Only the field-related test, written field-related test, assess other competencies. But so far, no competition has been published touching that test. So what we have seen is the written test to assess communication, or the say that will come for a STI competition in December that is also assessing communication in a general topic. Okay. Yep. And then how to apply the lesson plan. let's talk about the exams that are coming and what can we extract of usefulness or useful lessons from there. So that's why we get philosophical a little bit, and that's why we have our croqueta visiting the ancient Greece, becoming a philosopher. Okay, so we see the dates. We see that the statistics, as I mentioned before, is in October. Then we got nuclear November, assistant in December, Christian migration, more or less, give it or take, one exam per month. You accepted. So the important thing that you have to take into consideration, this is an exam that takes the whole day. You see that all them, they share exactly the same structure, 10, 1 p.m. and half past 3 p.m. So this is always Central European time. Please, if you are living or you're watching this from Helsinki, from Lisbon, Athens, remember that usually they have 1 hour of difference, more or less, compared to Belgium, to Brussels. That is the reference time. So meaning that instead of 10, if you are in Helsinki, it's 11. If you are in Lisbon or in Dublin, it will be 9 a.m. Your exam. It's always Central European time, and it's fixed because the exam is the same for all of you. The order change is arranged randomly, but the questions are exactly the same. So to avoid any filtration, to avoid any advantage by others, you have to take exam all at the same time. So meaning, but I'm in Tokyo in the European delegation there. Yeah, sorry for that, but you will have to take the exam at I don't know in the night or in the morning. Depends on the time difference. A simple as hard as that. Yeah, and I know in the past it was possible to adjust, but not anymore. The new exam is everybody at the same time. That's another lesson to be extracted. Sometimes it's a bit unfair that these dates fall into the middle of the week. So, but this is it. This is how EPSO has decided to set the dates. And in fact, there were some complaints from transport to change the date because 25th of September was Wednesday. It was in the middle of one of the biggest rail fairs worldwide. So, meaning that a lot of rail transport people were in that fair working. And the answer was that no, because whatever date they choose, they will overlap with another important date. So they cannot justify the changes of an exam date once it's fixed and officially communicated through your EPSO profiles. So all this things said, pay attention to the date. If you are taking the exam, be sure that you get the day free. Yes, I mean, for those who are working already in the institutions, not a big deal. You have the right to take the hours to take the exam. I know for some other people it may get trickier because not everybody understand that you are taking that exam. Meaning some bosses, some companies. So be sure that you are free that day, undisturbed if possible, or suggesting is always the day before, the 2 days before, you can take them free. It's even better because you can concentrate, relax at this, concentrate on the exam, relax before the exam, not having your mind split between two different tasks. So that's an advantage. I know it's not always possible, but it's a suggestion for you on that part. And also another important piece of advice based on the input from our candidates. Case, if possible, try to practice one full day. See how is the real exam in your own flash. Practice not the week before, but maybe a couple of weeks before. One Saturday, one Sunday, you can practice, and at 10, you practice with a reasoning test. Then remember, it's 1 hour and 5 minutes minimum. Then you practice at the one with a multiple choice, and then at half past three with a written. It doesn't have to be exactly the same topics, but at least to get the feeling of the exam, because some people relax a lot between tests, and for them it's fine, but some other people get nervous, get too excited, and they wear out. They run out of stamina and energy after one exam and the other, and they get into the writing already exhausted. And this is very important. I mean, seems like it's a joke, but it's not a joke. I mean, exhaustion, running out of energy, stamina during the day of the exam is key to be avoided. I mean, you need to prevent that and be sure that you get into the writing part with full force, with full strength to deliver, because you need this 40-45 minutes to write the test that you were given. Regarding the different tests on the reasoning, just check the notice because not all they follow the same threshold. Meaning, some I'm thinking now statistics and economics. They have you have numerical. You have to have a higher threshold, 6 out of 10 in numerical, while it's a combination verbal and abstract that you need 15 out of 30. While for other competitions like crisis and migration, you only need 10 out of 20 in the combination of numerical and abstract, while in verbal you need 10 out of 20 as well. So check always the notice. That's the basic rule of the game that indicates what you need. And for the multiple choice, exactly the same, although you can expect the minimum is 20 out of 30, what is required to pass. Still better if you get as close as possible to 30, to be sure that your writing will be corrected and you will join the reserve list. And also don't forget, also there is deadlines to link your documents to your application. So don't forget that as well. And yes, now couple of comments regarding the new competitions that are coming. Scientific research administrators. Yeah, we have plenty of profiles. I mean, apparently they've been announced around 10, 11 profiles. That's a lot. That's really a lot. Good news. Do we know the number of spot seats on that competition? No, we don't know yet. But I mean, all profiles considered, we expect hundreds of seats on that competition. That's important to take into consideration. And another thing that we are sure that will happen is that will be real scientific experience will be required, meaning you need to have some papers, some peer review papers published. That's a normal thing when you're doing research, but not for those who haven't been in the science field. Be so common. So just be careful because that will be one requirement. Then the test expected, CBT, computer-based test, verbal, numerical, and abstract reasoning will be there. That's for sure. I mean, we don't consider any other scenario. But for the multiple choice, it's most likely that there will be a multiple choice, but we don't know if it will be a single multiple choice for all the profiles together or one per profile. Common sense say that it will be the same multiple choice for all the profiles because otherwise it's a hell of a job to prepare the questions. But still, let's see. Man, 6th of November we'll meet again on this screen to check on the notice and explain all this in detail. But in the moment, that's our logical assumption. And final, written test. We're assuming that it will be a written test to assess your communication skills, and that will be the same for all the candidates. So meaning that we can expect a text or a document of reference that is more related to administration of science research programs in general rather than a document that is clearly linked to cybersecurity, for instance, or to transport science or to health and consumer protection. No, will be something horizontal that is the same for all. In any case, we invite you to the 6th of November to join us again to assess this notice of competition and give you more hints on how to prepare, how to address the multiple choice, the written test, and all these elements. Of course, you can always follow us on social media to get the latest news on this part. And yeah, Translators AD5. Yeah, it's been a while since the last competition for translators so open, and it's been 6 years already. Oh, 7 years. I think it was 2016, 2017 the latest competition. So, well, good, nice that we have won again, and with interesting languages because English, Spanish, French, Italian, that opened the door to a lot of candidates, a lot of people. Maltese, with all due respect, more reduced. Field, Danish, Greek, Dutch. I mean, there will be a good number of candidates could be there, but we're expecting such a big number like in English, Spanish, French, or Italian. So it's an 85. So we expect that no relevant experience will be required. We put term or minimal 1 year because we've seen that sometimes EPSO to limit the amount of candidates who can apply, they introduce some criteria to limit it. For instance, in the External Action Service, they did it. They introduced that criteria that even being at the 85, they ask for 1 year of working experience, relevant working experience. Could be the case. could be, but so far on previous competitions for translators, there were not criteria of this kind. It was just free range. I mean, only university degree, any university degree. So we hope they will maintain this criteria. There are 3 languages required in this case, in this particular competition. So it will be the one that you're selecting for your competition: Danish, Greek, English, Spanish, French, Italian, Maltese, Dutch, and another 24 official languages, most likely. So native language plus another one. I don't know, a classic combination I can think is it could be English, Spanish, French. Why not? Or Italian, English, French, or French, English, Spanish. Different combinations. We will address them in micro detail when the moment comes when we have the notice. So far, we are using the all notice to check on these elements, and that's why we know that we'll ask for 3 languages. Then the test they will be under the new EPSO model, meaning that they will be a bit different from the 2017 competition. CBT, computer-based test, verbal, numerical, and abstract reasoning, you will have it. Expect a threshold in this one of more than 10 questions on verbal to pass the competition. So that will be the hard part. Besides the computer-based test, we expect among these 4 tests that are now included in the portfolio of EPSO, at least 2 of them, meaning in total with 3 tests at least in total. So language comprehension test, translation test, or revision test. Depends on the task that you expected and depends on other factors that EPSO is weighing while preparing the publication of the notice. So, but in any case, you have examples of these 4 tests in the EPSO webpage. We check it, they are available, so it gives you quite well the idea on what you are supposed to prepare, whether it's translation, revision, comprehension test. I mean, they are not new. They've been used in the past in other in other competitions. So maybe new arrangement to fit in the new platform, that could be. But substance-wise, from a content perspective, they are quite similar to what we have seen in the past. Not a big deal. In any case, we invite you to meet us on the 4th of December to check all the details on this competition. And yeah, let's go to a final overview on the tests and the competition. So you see that I didn't mention before, but I take advantage to mention the internal HT3 competition. They are going to the interviews. Yes, believe it or not, in the internal competitions for the commission, they keep the interviews. Famous assessment center in the past in EPSO alive. So, and now they are doing the oral test. So that's one thing. But for the other competitions, you see that the CBT is there. I mean, it's like taxes and death. They are inevitable for the competition. So whatever you do in a EPSO competition, you will have to do the verbal, numerical, and abstract reasoning for good there. Multiple choice is also a common test that is present in all the existing competitions at this moment. Each one of them has been explained in the notice, has been explained also in our webinars. We invite you to visit our webinars on each one of these competitions. We will disclose sources to study and other elements that could be useful for your consideration in order to prepare the multiple choice. And of course, the writing. All these are communication assessment. You see that for the HT3 assistants, there's a free text essay on EU matters. It's the first time that they use this test, although we expect that they will be pretty similar to the ones we saw on transport, meaning some documents about the European Union, and then you have to elaborate some text, some ideas, give your opinion. That could be a classic on a free test essay. It's an essay, so it's an elaboration of ideas. It's managing the information you were given and think about some new elements. That's it. That's the tough part. You have to think. I know sometimes in these exams we are not ready for that part. We are so focused on what we have to do that we forget about the big picture and think a bit more. As I said, this is it. I mean, simple, maybe, but still work to do. If you are a candidate in any of these competitions, now you know you have to study. And talking about the study, how to do it, how can we help you? So, brief summary of what we are offering nowadays. So, if you are in an internal competition of the Commission, you can contact us for the oral test. We are preparing already the candidates, and hopefully, we will remain as successful as in the past, where almost all the candidates pass the competition. So, hope we are contributing to new croquetillas inside the European Commission. Then, other ways to join the Commission and becoming an officer. So if you're preparing the statistic exam, remember that we already prepare the multiple choice materials. We will have a writing workshop dedicated if you are not interested in the multiple choice and only on the writing part. That will be announced shortly. Same for nuclear. We will have a workshop on the writing that will be announced shortly for the multiple choice checkoff webinar. We have given you a few indications on where to find the material to prepare what is expected to be the exam. Of course, the CBT for all these competitions can be covered by any of our trainings on CBT. Today, this afternoon, we are starting one in Spanish, but if you are interested in CBT in English, no problem. Let us know because we are planning to organize a new training on CBT English quite soon. And continue with the other competition. Assistance will come in December, but we are not leaving you alone. So we already have the multiple choice already available, and we will have a more elaborated training on the free text essay that will be open quite soon. Hopefully, if everything goes fine in our IT side tonight, it will be open for registration on that part, where we will include also some examples and practice and review practice on that. Crisis and migration classics, for those of you who have been so far for the multiple choice in the trainings, we continue with you, next to you. Remember, we have updated the questions, we have updated the materials, and we keep continuing giving you services. If you are coming now, no problem. Questions have been updated, everything is there, so you can catch up in the time that you got. I think there are a few months ahead, so still plenty of time to work on this and prepare yourselves. If you are not interested in multiple choice, there will be also workshops for the writing part only for your help. And then for the future, of course, in you are interested in the internal competition of the commission, same thing. We are already working one of the groups that it's working on the multiple choice and the writing part all together. In fact, we have our session tonight on that group. And then the multiple choice, of course, is already available. You can start studying now, even if the notice hasn't been published yet. And for the writing, there will be a dedicated group, and it will start the very same day that they publish the notice, or the day after, just to give you some break on that part, as we will more or less manage to know the date of the exam. We're expecting the exam for the internal competition will be before the Christmas break, but we need to be fully sure, totally convinced about that before we start with the writing to get into the exam with the right shape and full steam. And of course, for the 5th of November and through December, the new competitions will be published. We will have our webinars to analyze the call, so check them right after they have been published. We will have the webinars. Don't forget to follow up and stay in touch with us in order to join this webinar live, otherwise on YouTube later the day after. Okay, so this is it more or less from our side on the updates and the latest news. But now I'm going to your questions. So if you allow me, let me check on the chat because there's been some activity that I haven't been covering. So okay, I'm going to the questions. Nadia, what is the usual delay between the publication of the notice, the application, the date of the exam? Yeah, so far, let's work under the scenario that everything works fine, that everything goes now as it's supposed to be. So you will have 1 month to do the inscription, to register in the competition, and could be as soon as 3-4 weeks after that you will have the exam. So you will have 2 months, more or less. That's it. But still, considering all the delays that we have seen, that will be for second half of 2025 when we see a process that runs so smoothly. At this moment, it's taking a bit longer between the registration time period and the exam. So let's see on the 5th of November when we get the notice of the scientists if EPSO would really want to speed up, meaning that people will have the exam in January, because all things considered, 5th of January, 5th of November, 4th of November, you have 1 month for December, couple of weeks already Christmas, and there are other exams taking place. So we are talking about January, although as economists are taking their exam in January, that should be February, the soonest. And for translators, a bit of the same. February, maybe early March could be the dates at this moment. Sorry, let me go little by little. I know there's a lot on the chat, but this is not in the screen calculator. Was like in. Yes, the interface on the on Prometric was already difficulty, but I mean, it haven't improved yet. I mean, at least the interface is stable. Those are the good news. Yep, the trivial type of questions are as a thing that can happen in any competition. I mean, as I say, this a comfortable style of question to eliminate candidates, being honest. So, and still valid because the figures, the question is related to the topic on the competition. So, yeah, not my favorite, but yeah, they are something that we are dealing with, and we are trying to help all of you on that part. How many years for AD7? Usually they will ask for 6 years minimum of relevant professional experience. Let's see how they evaluate this with the requirement of the scientific papers or peer-reviewed publications. Final criteria, we will tell you early November when we do the webinar and we have the notice. Because now that will be speculating, but minimum 6 years of working experience. That's it. In AD7, it's a statutory regulation. What is required? 6 years. A master thesis can be considered as a scientific publication and a collaboration a PhD one. Raquel, good questions. I cannot answer that now. Just to be transparent, but when we get the notice, with pleasure, I will answer them, and we will do oral analysis to answer these kind of questions. Okay. Do we know more or less the number of positions that will be offered for AD5 translators? No, we don't know at this moment, but considering that under the new model, they are increasing the number of seats, so the positions available, well, literally we're expecting hundreds on that part. So, but to be seen in the notice. We know also that sometimes things have changed. Remember, transport competition, it started with 80 seats, and then they amend the notice, and now it's 220 seats or post on that reserve list. So that's why also can be enlarged later. But see, then now the figures we're talking are much larger. For the latest, the date is the day we need to submit the application or the day of the exam. Also, how do we apply? Yeah, Angels. No, the 3rd of December is the day they publish the notice of competition. Only that day. That will be the notice of competition, the rules of the game. You will have 1 month to apply. Suggestion: 3rd of December, you check the notice, you read it. 4th of December, you join our webinar. We show you what is our best understanding of the notice, how the combination of languages can be done, the other requirements that are necessary, and an assessment of the test that you will face. So, and then probably the exam, as I said before, it will be most likely February, March next year. Then Sarah is asking, any news for the AD6 internal competition? The news and news. The latest change in the internal competition announcements were that they will be published in autumn. We are already in autumn of this year. We think that they will try to imitate or repeat what they did last year with internal competition, meaning that the second half of October, first week of November will be the most likely scenario to publish the notice of the internal competitions, and they will be, and the exam will happen at least for AD5s before Christmas time. So check on that part. Be careful. In any case, the moment we get notice of the internal competition notice, we will announce it on our channels, on our communication, on our means of communication. iPhone EP. For crisis managers, have you updated the questions, reading materials based on last year's exam? Yes, we have updated the materials and we keep updating. I mean, this is a continuous work. We don't never stop updating materials. And I wouldn't say until the very end of the exam, that wouldn't be fair for you, but at least until the last couple of weeks of the exam, we always keep refreshing all the elements. And remember that multiple choice trainings, even if it's a self-study, there is a live session where we give you the latest hints, any updates, and any other information that we consider relevant. So until then, we will continue reviewing all the materials and all the elements that are needed or considered needed. But of course, you're also responsible to take your own look. I mean, we do our best. We try to cover everything, but something can be missing, and you need to also to check by yourself that everything is in your folder. How can we practice writing tests under the new EPSO format? Under the self-study, there are no two examples. Any other in the pipeline? Yes, for the writing tests, we are, as I say, we are preparing the training on the ESA for the ISTs 156. That's one thing. There is the workshops where we have more examples to practice. Oh, also the pre-exam session that comes with the multiple choice trainings and includes that we upload and we prepare in a platform the document given by EPSO with some ideas or scenarios so you can practice with the real text and with real questions. But for that, we need to wait until EPSO makes available the text so we can propose to you those options. I have a question, Martin. Written test is about communication. It is in the transport one. I recycle some parts from the text. Control, yeah. And applying changes, introduce correction, make an introduction, summary. I don't think I can be punished for educated copying, but I would like to know your opinion. I will be about a signal, which allowed. Many thanks. Well, Marta, I should have a look to the exercise to let you know, because here it's a subjective matter. I mean, you made some copy of text, but maybe it was the right parts, it was the right sentences and the right thing. With the editing that you have done, it looks great. Nothing to say against that. But could be that because memory can be tricky, imagine that by mistake or by error, and I don't think that was your case, but imagine you just copy pasted 3 paragraphs, complete paragraphs, just like that. Bluff. That would look awful. So I'm going to the extreme. So yeah, copy paste in a smart way to get some ideas, some input that are really useful for us. That's perfectly fine. We always suggest people not to do it in our trainings for one simple reason, because we know that at the end we will do it. So if we tell you don't do it, you will do it a few times, just the elements that you need. If we did, no, you can do it, then people tend to, oh, I can copy paste everything. No, that's not, that's just the opposite. So without having the opportunity to look at the exercise, still can look perfect and can look great, provided that you have given your added value. And you mentioned you edited the text, you re-elaborated the input. So that's a good thing. At the end, it's what they are looking for your communication capacity. Copy paste, well, everybody can copy paste, but only you can communicate. Let me see. In the case of translators, certifying all languages, in based on previous occasions, no certification was required. It was directly through the test that it was assessed the capacities of the candidates. I don't know this time if they will require some kind of certification or not. I mean, they asked for some level on the languages, C2, C1 level, but it was self-declared. It was not given by certificates. Let's see on the new call how they are going to ask for it. I mean, so we will let you know in December, early December. You will have our information. Carlos, any news about 85 generalists? As I mentioned before, not until 2025. Finger crossed that EPSO will be able to publish or to announce the coming of 85 officially with a date at the end of this year. I think if everything goes smoothly with the new platform and the competitions, they will do. But for the moment, the official answer is that they cannot disclose any date for 85 generalists, although our educated guess is first half of next year. Are there specific resources to prepare CBT verbal parallel language different other than English, mainly in Spanish? Well, Nadia, thanks for asking. I mean, you can go to our blog, on yasemoseuropeos.com. In the EPSO part, I mean, you have a lot of our posts in Spanish about the verbal reasoning, numerical and abstract. Also, we posted a long ago, and we are planning to refresh some free exercises for the CBT. And also you have some videos in our YouTube channel with exercises proposing some verbal, numerical, and abstract reasoning, also in Spanish, not only in English. For the abstract, I think that you can do it in any language, but for the others, we propose them in Spanish, besides English. That's one thing. So, and so far as I recall, and that's one thing I'm proud, we are the single spot on the web that have as much information as that on the verbal, numerical, and abstract reasoning in any language, not only in Spanish. Even in English, we couldn't find anyone equivalent unless they copy us. We also found some webs that they just translated what we have. So still, it's a valid information that can be useful for you. I see, Isabel, the internal competition is not allowed to contract agents in agencies. Is it in principle? No, agencies are not allowed to participate in the internal competition of the commission. And this is a pity. I know that a couple of years ago, human resources of the commission in a webinar, they mentioned that they could, or you could participate in the internal competitions, but then they stepped back because they realized that the numbers were too huge to be managed, that they could manage, so they couldn't organize the competition. That's why at the end is by the numbers of potential candidates that you're not entitled. But hopefully, maybe let's see in the future if we see that. I mean, is it still something that is on the table? So finger crossed that someday they will change the criteria and they will allocate more resources so you can participate in these competitions. On the written test, I think I already answered that. What's the usual delay between the publication of the notice? No, I think I covered that one. Are you going to? Sorry. Can you be penalized in any way if you apply for AD6 and do not meet their experience requirements? Yes, that if you pass the exam, you pass everything, and you get reviewed your application, you get a spell. That's the punishment. If you are thinking about they will take you, they will put your name on a list. Oh, this candidate was a fake candidate in another competition. No, no, don't worry. General data protection rules applies. That's why also this painful process that everybody complains. I have to upload again all the information in my application. Well, it works for you in your advantage in this case. They cannot use that data and they don't penalize anyone for taking part of one competition or in other. I mean, just declaring that you fulfill all the criteria, and if you pass and you don't, you will be expelled. That's it. It was confirmed as are not eligible for internal competitions, just as I say. Let's see in the future this criteria change. So let me see what other questions can. Okay. Okay, I don't know if there's any other question left. Please write it on the chat or open micros to ask, because I think I tried to cover all the ones that I saw, but sometimes I miss any. So let me know. Or everybody is okay with the questions. So no questions anymore. Everybody is more or less up to date. That was the purpose of today's webinar. So thanks a lot to all of you for coming to the webinar today. As I say, we will upload the presentation. We will give you access to it later. So what about AST for internal AD competitions? We will need to check the notice. I know this is a request from the AST colleagues in the institutions to get access to the AD. Let's see. Let's see if the AD5 is open for them. I mean, we know that in the In the in the intracom, we've been told that they change or they update the criteria on how you can apply and what the elements that you need to fulfill. Check there if there's any update for the STs. So far, I don't recall, but hopefully, eventually, they will be allowed. I think it will be quite a valid opportunity for ST colleagues to become ADs on this. Yeah, temporary agents in other institutions are allowed to present on this internal competition. No, I'm afraid that temporary agents in other institutions can only participate in their own internal competitions. So it's how it goes. So internal competition for council people, parliament people, commission people. It's only the agencies that I was a bit more troubling because agencies sometimes are seen as a spin-off from the commission mostly, but still no possibilities, unfortunately. Pilar, I see that you raised your hand.
Yes,
It's
well, hello. I wanted to know, well,
you mute yourself, or I cannot hear you.
oh, excuse me. Do you hear me?
Now, yes.
Okay. No, I say that I don't understand quite well what is the difference between the written test and the free text essay on EU matters in terms of preparation or questions expected.
Hmm.
Is there a difference or it's more or
Yes,
less
as I mentioned, yes, I mentioned it before. I mean, in the sense that the written it's a text document given as reference that is linked to the competition, while the free text essay it will be a general document. It's not linked to the competition itself, but and it will ask for essay. So essay means that it's asking for what's your opinion, elaborate ideas about this, or your views on a certain topic. So literally, that's an essay. While as
okay?
for the written, it's mostly well in transport. They ask for an article for the newsletter for the of the DG on the topic of the document.
Mm,
So an article is more a summary, it's an elaborated summary. So a different approach, but same evaluation, same thing: clarity of the language, use of the inputs, clear structure are the basics of this test, whether it's essay or whether it's written.
okay. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Okay, what's the difference? Okay,
Okay.
that was it. I don't know if there's any other question or comment.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
sorry,
yes.
I have a question for you. In the latest transport competition, there were only one question or more than one? So in the written part, we
One
have
question.
to only one question. Thank you.
Yeah. And that I know that in the previous case study that it was done for 45 minutes case study, the old one, the old model, the episode used to include 2 or 3 questions, but apparently on decent transport there was only one. Let's see if they will keep it or they will add 2 questions. So in any case, always get ready for the worst, expecting a high, very demanding exercise, expecting the best, and then everything will run smoothly the day of the exam. Okay. Mhm. I don't know if there's another last question. I've got another minute. Okay. Thank you, Andres. Thank you, everyone, for being today with us. So, in any case, just don't forget to follow us on social media or join our Telegram or WhatsApp channels where we keep you updated of everything it's coming from EPSO and everything we do. So, hopefully, see you soon and we stay in touch. Thank you.